What is right for me now may not be right for me later on in life. We will all be hypocrites in relation to our past selves. What we believe now will change. That is unavoidable. Maybe not everything, but many things will change for you. What is right and wrong for you now may not be right and wrong for you tomorrow, or not be right and wrong for you in a few weeks, months, years, and so on. Our world is moving faster than ever, and different ways of being are butting heads and exchanging ideas, whether you see it or not. Remember, the world has not been connected like this for very long, and nowadays, every single person can almost truly be heard properly thanks to the internet, but that'll be a topic of discussion for another time. Whenever I talk with my few friends who actually want to have an actively good conversation with me, yes, I know, look at the loser with effectively no friends, what a loser. Got that off your chest? I find that they seem to hold to the idea that something that is good now will be good going forward. In my short life, I've seen enough that tells me that that is bullshit. Your relationship with your parents can go from good to bad or bad to good easily as you grow up. You can be considered the smartest person alive, and then you go to university or out into the real world. This is in reference to people that aren't me, by the way, just saying. Hell, your political opinions will alter over time based on the decisions of the party you support, or on your own idea of what is right and what is wrong, which is constantly in motion. It's not that it will change instantly in a day, which is not to discount the chance that it can still happen, but it is changing and you cannot see it just yet. And that's good for you. Regardless of who it puts you at odds with, it's good that you're changing. It's a sign of growth, no matter where you grow towards. Because, I find, no matter what, people will grow towards their own specific source of light, what they perceive to be good, and away from the darkness, and what they perceive to be bad. The perception of whether you grow towards good or bad is based on who's looking in from the outside. Because while we may all be similar, we are not the same. And what is good and bad differs from person to person, culture to culture, nation to nation, and so on. Sure, you could consider being completely selfish or selfless as being good, but the reality is that each one comes with its pros and cons. One is never truly better than the other, just different. The intensity that you go through with being selfish or selfless also alters things, especially perception of you from the outside world, that also alters you. But that's a topic for another time. What you need to realize is that there truly is no such thing as good or bad. Just the perception of everything on how the world has been built. It's a slippery slope to navigate in terms of conversing about it because everyone thinks they have a handle on what is right and what is wrong. But what is considered to be right and wrong is based on the power that is ruling, and those powers are not the same around the world. Each has their own idea of right and wrong. And as with people, if pushed to believe what they don't believe to be right or wrong, there will be a point where they will tell you to fuck off. Then you get offended that they don't think that what you consider to be right and wrong is right, and then they get offended because you are arrogant enough to tell them that what they think is right and wrong is wrong. And then World War III happens and then no one is right or wrong. I took that to an excessively high level in the end, I know, but not much gets past many people unless the threat of war is right there with it. Regardless, right and wrong is purely a human invention of the societies we have today. What is right and wrong today was not right and wrong 1,000 years ago, or 5,000 years ago. Hell, 5,000 years ago, there was very little in terms of morality in the face of survival. Morality came after civilization and safety was secured, in most people's minds anyway. But again, a topic for another day. Whether all this change has been good or bad is then up to you to decide. But then you have to wonder, why do you consider growth good or bad? Because it's your perception of good and bad. Because regardless of your presence, change is always happening. And most of us are just along for the ride. In the end, you only control yourself, so you will decide right and wrong, good and bad for yourself. So please, try to be less of an asshole by not telling people outright that they are wrong when what they believe is in direct opposition to you. Sit down and listen to each other, and then walk away when it's said and done. As to how you do that, figure that shit out yourself. No lesson will 100% apply to you, so learn about yourself through experience. AKA, be the dumbass, because you'll change for the better when you learn more, but you can't change at a decent speed unless you are willing to go learn. And learning is continual fuck-ups in life until you get it right once in one way. Then, after more time, you find other ways to achieve the exact same thing, and then you are a master of a sort of something. And you have effectively changed forever in relation to what you used to be. This is where schooling systems get it wrong when teaching people the consequences of getting something right or wrong, but that's a topic for another day. And that can be good or bad, but only you can decide that. More so when you get by on your own and don't have to depend on the family as often, if at all. Everything else may or may not be static noise, or maybe useful insight. But learning to differentiate that may or may not be a lifelong journey in its own right. I say that because I still get useful info from the outside world in relation to me every once in a while. Other times, after some time has passed, I may or may not realize that something may or may not be useful to me, only after learning. See how complex all this is? Oh, and differentiating between good or bad external information in relation to you is another skill on its own. But that may or may not be a topic for another day. Maybe I'll change and find a way to shorten something as complex as what I have spoken about, but not right now. Anyways, it's about time to end it here because I have spoken a lot. To all those who have watched my video, I appreciate you, even if you fully disagree with me. Until next time, see ya.